and welcome to another episode of the podcast. So, let's talk about one of the biggest mistakes I see women making, if not the biggest mistake I see women making when trying to kick their symptoms or trying to feel better. And that mistake is honestly patience, I would say. Patience, persistence. I often say to my ladies, you do not walk 10 miles into the woods to walk out in 5. It took you your whole life to get to where you are today. I work with midlife ladies aged between about age 35 and 55, typically, give or take. It has taken you decades to get to where you are at 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. It didn't just take you a week or a month or a couple of days. It took you decades. And I want to share a very short story about my friend who is going through a bit of a difficult time right now. And my friend, I've known her for, gosh, I think I've known her for 40 years. And so I know what happened in her childhood with her immune system. I know that she got food poisoning once. I know the amount of incredible stress and trauma that she's been through, with marriages and other things as well. I have seen it. I know that when she was a baby, she suffered with something quite severe. And she now has uncovered something. I'm purposely being cryptic because, but she has uncovered something that she is now dealing with. It's a hormonal issue and it's totally manageable. But she's frustrated because it's been a couple of months and she's not feeling fantastic. And I get it. One thing I really want you to hear me say is I get it because it is frustrating, especially when you feel like you're doing everything right. I mean, listen, we've all been there. We've all tried to lose a few pounds. And after 2 days of healthy eating, we joke to our best mate, I've been healthy eating for 2 days. Why am I not down 5 pounds already? Like, I get it, right? It feels can be quite challenging when you're doing everything right and not seeing results, especially if it's been a couple of months that you feel like you're doing everything right. So please do not mistake what I'm saying here for me not understanding. And I've felt frustration as well. And I see it in my clients all the time. But again, like with my friend, it took her from being a baby, having food poisoning, having other immune system issues, having incredible stress and trauma for decades. And finally, that started to show up in her body in her 40s. But we can't undo that in 2 months. How can you undo that in 2 months, right? So we have to understand that patience is the key. And I see far too many women giving into their frustrations. My friend isn't. She's amazing. She's a trooper. She keeps going. But I see far too many women giving into these frustrations, throwing their hands up, giving up, or practitioner hopping, right? That's very common. All of us practitioners have seen it. I have a client who came to me and actually she ran a couple of HTMAs with another practitioner, and we ran an HTMA with her, and she was questioning whether she, in her words, got any better from the previous HTMAs that were run because she couldn't read them. Because, of course, it's not her fault. Nobody can. It's a very complex, nuanced test. Nobody can who hasn't trained in these tests or had the clinical experience, right? But she gave up on that practitioner. Maybe she shouldn't have, because I said to her, there's been tremendous improvement. But with these HTMAs, they're complex, they're nuanced. So when something is high, it doesn't necessarily get read as that. But when I looked at all the nuances, I said, yeah, you've made progress every time. You were in the right direction, but you gave up on that practitioner. So be very careful about practitioner hopping. If you feel that you resonate with a practitioner, and if that practitioner really is trying to do everything in their power for you, and maybe that practitioner is holding a little bit of a mirror up to you, which can be a little bit uncomfortable, but it's the people who are able to look into that mirror honestly who will succeed. If you're unable to take the tough love, you're probably not going to succeed. I'm sorry, but you've got to be able to go, yeah, you're right. I do need to change that. Not get defensive, right? And not expect a practitioner to have a magic wand. There's not a practitioner in the world, no matter how good that practitioner is, who can sit with you for an hour and know exactly everything that's wrong with you. Oh, wrong. sorry, shouldn't say that word, should I? Everything that's, not going completely smoothly with you at this point in time. They can't see every little thing. They certainly can't unfold your life for the decades before in an hour. There's just no way. And that's why when we work with our ladies, we work with them for 6 months, sometimes more. Most of our ladies, they stick with us because they really enjoy the work that they're doing with us. But what I have to tell my ladies is every single time that we speak with you, you don't necessarily know it, but we hear something that is a piece of your health puzzle that we take and we put in your health puzzle. And behind the scenes, you're not aware necessarily, but every time we talk with you, every time we ask you about your symptoms, every time we see a lab, blood work, whatever it is on you, we are putting all these health puzzle pieces into that health puzzle that we are building out behind the scenes of you. But that takes time because we don't always know the questions to ask. That has to unfold naturally. You don't always know what to tell us. We have all these things have to unfold. So we ask all the questions we can think of, but then we get guided as we talk more. As you say, oh, this happened when I took this supplement. This happened when I did this with my diet. And we go, oh, being the practitioners that we are and having the experience that we have, we're able to go, oh, ding, 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 that means something. You're not aware that it means something. You just told us. But thank God you told us, because now we've got another piece of the health puzzle, right? But it takes time. So if you are not being patient, if you're not realizing that true, sustainable, long-term root cause medicine and health takes time, then you will constantly spin your wheels and you'll be constantly looking and looking and looking. And it's never one thing. It's never HRT. That's not going to make you feel better. There's no way HRT alone is going to make you feel better. It's never just, oh, I've just got to do this low histamine diet. Well, that's not fun, first of all. And that's not getting to the root cause. It's not going to make you feel better, right? Or the low FODMAP diet, or, it's never one thing. It's always a combination of foundations and things, from diet to gut to nutrients to a nervous system to blood sugar to toxic load and more, that need to be addressed. So if you're just thinking that you're going to find that practitioner who's going to tell you the magic solution, it's not going to happen. I hate to break it to you. We have to put in the hard work. We have to have the patience and the persistence. And it's those people that have the discipline and the patience and the persistence. They are the people that will succeed in every aspect of life. So let that be you, and allow your practitioner to push you a little bit, even if it feels uncomfortable. Try not to be defensive and try to really listen in to that practitioner and what they're trying to tell you, because it could mean the difference between you staying stuck and spinning your wheels and feeling like crap 1 year, 10 years from now, or feeling fantastic in 6 months, right? So just be careful about, jumping from practitioner to practitioner. If you don't understand the testing, don't make assumptions, because you might be on the right path, like this client of mine who really was on the right path. Be patient. Remember, it took you your whole life to get here. What if you had antibiotics when you were a kid or in your 20s? And what if you had surgeries and maybe car accidents and, like I said, food poisoning, or, any number of things? Those have all chipped away at the foundations of your health over time. That is not to say we can't rebuild all of that. We can. That's the exciting thing, right? There's so much hope and there's so many opportunities. But if you've had antibiotics, at times you've had a lot of trauma and stress, and you've had a crappy diet, and maybe you've had a couple of babies, because gosh, we know that they definitely are a bit of a stress on the body, and a car accident here and food poisoning there, and there's a multitude of different things you could have had. If those weren't properly addressed, or if you just got through it, like you had the flu, but you didn't replete yourself, or, these things occurred, but you didn't replete, well, that's just chipped your foundation a little bit every single time. So then you get into perimenopause and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm getting hit by a Mack truck, right? So let's rebuild you. But that takes time. So your impatience will be your downfall. Trying to find a quick fix will be your downfall. Jumping from practitioner to practitioner will be your downfall. And you will find that you are no better off a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 from where you are today. So that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, mistake I see women making. So don't let it be you. Okay. So if you enjoyed this podcast episode, as always, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast, whether it's in your podcast app, or if you're on YouTube, you can go to the link in the bio to subscribe. If you are interested in finding out more about how I work, how I can help you, the best thing to do is head to the show notes in your podcast app and book in for a 30-minute consultation with me. And then we can have a chit chat. We can talk about what's going on for you, what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't. You can even bring some of your labs to that call and I can run through and just see what I can see on those labs. That is the next best step if you are interested in exploring working with me. Otherwise, thanks for listening and bye for now.
I am not a medical professional, and the information provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. I do not have access to your individual medical history or circumstances, so the content discussed here should not be considered as medical advice. Before making any changes to your diet, lifestyle, or considering the use of supplements, please consult with a qualified healthcare professional or your doctor to ensure it's safe and appropriate for your specific situation. Any decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are at your own discretion and risk. Thank you for tuning in.